okay.
Yes, so Craig, would you like to tell us about another film? Perhaps you could tell us about the latest from Netflix. Well, I say the latest from Netflix, there have probably been 82 films on the same day, but one of Netflix's hottest new films.
That's it. So hot right now. Triple Frontier. Imagine my disappointment when this turned out to be not a euphemism for some sort of group sex act, but rather a sausage fest of another kind. A Netflix-produced special forces romp starring Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund and Pedro Pascal. Those good old boys, never meaning no harm, are ex-special forces comrades who decide that countless years of service to their country ought to have left them better placed to enjoy retirement. Affleck, the captain, is failing miserably as a condo salesman and a father. Isaac is an advisor to Colombian special forces who laments his inability to overturn the drugs cartels that are tearing apart the country of his mother's birth. Hunnam and Hedlund are brothers, the former giving well-worn lectures to new army recruits, the latter plying his trade in mixed martial arts tournaments. Then there is Pascal, whose ace pilot status is suspended following conviction for a minor cocaine rap. Working with an informant in Colombia, and again, I'm probably going to absolutely massacre this poor lady's name, Adria Arjona, who is an accountant for one of the cartels. Isaac's character gets wind of a $75 million stash of ill-gotten cash being stored at a safe house. An agreement is made with the Colombian authorities to assault the house and split the cash, but after roping in his former colleagues on a recce of the area, the decision is soon made to conduct the assault alone and keep the entire $75 million, pleading ignorance to the authorities and pinning the raid on rival cartels. Oh, and it turns out to be more like $250 million. What could possibly go wrong? To call Triple Frontier uninspired would be somewhat of an understatement, which is a disappointment as it comes primarily from the pen of writer Mark Bowl, who gave us Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker and most recently Detroit. Co-writing and directing is J.C. Chander, and again you'd be forgiven for maintaining high hopes off the back of A Most Violent Year, All Is Lost and Margin Call. Not that there's anything inherently bad about the movie, just that it all hangs together in a bafflingly and resolutely workmanlike fashion and never really catches fire. While some of the tropes may be well worn, there is potential here for exploration of a couple of interesting themes, but between them, Chander and Bowl don't seem all that interested in exploring much below the surface. Perhaps most disappointingly, while the characters are set up very specifically, they are, for the most part, entirely interchangeable by the time the action reaches Colombia. The least well-served, considering his billing, would probably be Affleck, whose setup is entirely at odds with the expression of character we see once the mission is underway.
Yes, thank you. Yes, where did that come from?
Oh, it's bizarre. There's a fascinating turn to be had there, hinting at something much, much deeper and really wrong underneath the skin of this man.
No, it just turns on a dime.
Yeah, but again, and perhaps bizarrely, nothing much is made of it, either in the moment or within completion of that character's arc. Isaac gets perhaps the best deal, if again paid short shrift, and both Hunnam and Hedlund are interesting enough, if underdeveloped in their secondary roles. I get most frustrated for Pedro Pascal, however. Game of Thrones' Oberyn Martell was a solid gold charismatic calling card, but outside of television, filmmakers just don't seem to know what to do with him. Here, again, he is given an interesting setup, but despite introducing some doubt around his abilities mid-mission, he gets absolutely hee-haw of interest to do in the second half of the movie. For a heist film running to over 2 hours, this is all pretty inexcusable. Nobody was expecting Heat 2, The Colombian Connection, but come on. Chander does handle most of the action reasonably well, although there isn't an awful lot of it, besides a couple of limited engagements and a helicopter crash. Writer Bowl has often worked with Catherine Bigelow, who here has an exec producer credit, and tellingly I spent most of the back half of Triple Frontier wondering what she would have done with the material, and I've since found out actually that originally she was attached to direct. There's now fundamentally broken about Triple Frontier, but also no area in which it really excels. A cursory sweep of the usual internet resources yielded no info regarding the production budget, but I'm willing to bet it was more than Annihilation's $40 million, and I know which I'll be revisiting in future.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you, Craig. It's fine. Again, I'm just going back to that sort of very underwhelming sentiment. It's fine. I mean, it looks lovely. There's some really nice locations because it is shot in Colombia. And there's some really, particularly it has looked so sharp.
Yeah.
To this towards the end when they're on the.
I was going to say particularly
mountain.
when they start covering the mountains to Peru, right?
Yeah, it's incredible looking. It's so beautiful and sharp, and it's a really interesting location. And it's just, it's really kind of visually appealing. But the action is like, meh. I kept expecting it to build to something bigger.
Yeah, I did as well.
I thought at least some sort of like huge action set piece or something that would have fitted in that film, actually.
Yeah.
As tired as I often can be of them, in that film I was hoping for it, and nothing really action-wise happens. It just felt like it's building, and nothing happens.
Well, the heist, the sort of the raid on the cartel house takes place not even halfway through the film. Yeah. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, right, this has got an hour and 15 to go. Something crazy is going to happen here. I thought, is this going to end up turning into like a siege movie? What's going to happen?
Something like that.
Yeah, totally. Or even, essentially it breaks down into being essentially a chase movie, but with no real sense of the pursuit. You're never... And even given that one sort of shootout among the rocks, which we won't spoil for people, on the mountainside in Peru, that doesn't turn out to be what you expect it to be. And there's actually no sense whatsoever of them being pursued by the cartel, although they talk about it. They never really feel at risk. And there's no sense building of like impending danger or anything. So it's just a lot of... I was going to say dead air, but it's bizarre. It's not even dead air. It's just like competent air. it's just breathable air. It's just not doing anything for me.
Yeah, it's absolutely not a bad film in any way. Well made, well acted. It's just a bit empty. It really feels like it was built to something. And there are hints of really interesting things there. Like, for instance, Pedro Pascal, he is hugely underserved.
Yeah.
At the start of the film, one of the reasons he needs to go to South America to make this money is that he's lost his pilot's license because of a cocaine bust. Not necessarily that he would be involved with the drugs in South America that they find or they could find, but more it's like, well, maybe that's a sign of PTSD in him. That's why he was doing that. So there's all the sorts of different psychologies of the characters you can. And
during the raid, he makes a rash decision as well.
Yeah.
But nothing ever comes of that. And then Affleck, you're like, wow, all right, I know what's going to happen here. All right, this is the seed of something. This is going to be the reason everything all goes wrong. No, not at all. Yeah. And it's not even in reference later in the film.
Yeah, and because they keep on talking, they talk up Ben Affleck's character as being he's the captain by rank. He's the leader.
Yeah, they're not going to do it if he doesn't do it. Yep.
He's the honourable man. He's always got the best plan. But suddenly he becomes a different character halfway through the film, but there's no connection. There's no linking device between the two. It's like, oh, suddenly he's a different person who's doing very different things that you claimed he was going to do. And
there's no explanation. There is a payoff, but even that payoff is underdeveloped.
Yeah, and how that character ends up, I was almost certain of it from the beginning. But I mean, that's more just, I've seen lots of films and there's only one of two ways that could have gone, and I picked the more common one. But
well, if it's going to have any pretense at being a morality tale, then certainly yes, something like that's going to have to happen. But then again, what is the moral of this movie?
I don't know. I suppose it's nice that they do it, and it's maybe slightly more than lip service, but they do pay at least lip service to the fact that they try not to shoot people if they can avoid it.
This is big of them.
And then there's at least some, it really is some sort of emotional fallout from that there's some regret and things, which is more than you get in a lot of those types of films. But it's still not enough.
No.
You know, it should have just been kind of heavier on that, because I think that's like, they're trying to like, oh no, we are the good guys, what have we done? And I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Because certainly their setup is like, they kind of, because they never took a penny. They were carrying hundreds of millions of dollars to the CIA to pay off people and things. Never took a cent, but they feel like they've been robbed by their country and left hanging like so many soldiers do.
At the very least, you expect
morality and stuff, but it never goes heavily enough into it.
At the very least, you expect there's going to be some sort of discourse over, oh wow, look, there's not really much difference between us and the bad guys, is there? But it doesn't manifest. Nothing manifests. It's weird.
It's not like I'm glad it didn't go quite down as an extreme a route as, for instance, Ed Harris's character and why his motivations in The Rock. Which is a similar sort of thing, but at the absolute other extreme.
Yeah.
But I don't know, a wee bit more would be good. And again, back to Affleck too. There's one hint towards the start that something might go wrong because he says he can't sell houses to save himself because he's trying to be a real estate agent, and he's trying to support his family. And the only time he feels himself is with a gun in his hand. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they've built him up so much as being the great planner, the captain, the guy they look up to and everything, the one guy that they won't do the job without. And then he becomes a completely different person, but there's no linking device. There's no passage to that character. And yeah, I don't know. So it looks nice. It's just, I kind of wanted something a bit more special, and I feel that there could be something special in it. And particularly with, as you referenced, Craig, the pedigree associated with this film in terms of writers and production and the cast as well.
Yeah, this
could
on
have been
paper,
something really special.
Yeah, on
and
paper,
the budget
this
clearly had.
This reads great, but yeah.
Yeah.
But hey ho.